welcome into this edition of ACAP Today for the week of October 17th, 2022. I'm Jason Parent with the Aroostook County Action Program. On this week's edition of ACAP Today, we're going to talk about a very important topic that's making national and statewide headlines, and certainly an issue that folks here in Aroostook County are grappling with. And that's the challenge of finding affordable quality childcare in a time when childcare is in, as many describe it, a crisis and a very severe shortage. We're going to talk with a statewide leading expert and a local person who's working here on behalf of ACAP across the state of Maine and here in our community to address these challenges at a policy and advocacy perspective. We'll be with those guests in just a little bit, but before we get to that, as we do at this point in the program at each broadcast, we're going to first begin with our news and information that you can use again for the week of October 17th, 2020. And we begin with this in the news this week. We turn to first our Diversity Day that's coming up this coming Friday, October 21st at the Caribou Recreation Center from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's a partnership with the Aroostook County Action Program, Pride Aroostook, and Power of Prevention. It's going to feature music, food, crafts, and games, and it will be held again from 3 to 6 p.m. This Friday, October 21st at the Caribou Recreation Center. There is no registration needed for this event. We're encouraging Aroostook County teens to just show up. There will be, as I said, food and games, and there is an opportunity to just come and hang out with other young people who are interested in supporting other diverse youth and each other. Again, that's the Diversity Day, and all the Aroostook County teens are welcome this Friday, the 21st of October from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Caribou Recreation Center. Again, no registration required, just show up. We're also inviting folks for an event coming up a week from this Friday. That's the Community Baby Shower. There are two sessions of those that will be held at 10 a.m. and at 12:30 p.m. at ACAP's 771 Main Street Presque Isle location, our customer service there in Presque Isle near Walmart. Again, Friday, October 28th. This is a free community event for new and expecting parents. Each of the two sessions will begin with a short informational talk on safe sleep, followed by a number of vendor tables and an opportunity to connect with local agencies who can provide very valuable resources to new and expecting parents. There will also be some great door prizes to be had and giveaways to all who attend, which will include a baby bag full of useful items and information to support you and your new baby. You want to register for this in advance because space is limited at this event. We can only handle so many folks coming in and have so many gift bags for folks, and the slots are filling up fast. So if you haven't already registered, we encourage you to do that. You can go to ACAP's website for more information, or to our Facebook presence to figure out how to get a registration for either the 10 a.m. or the 12:30 p.m. slot. We're also reminding folks we're halfway through it at this point, but Sober October, there's still an opportunity if you'd like to sign up to take a pledge to remain sober for the remainder of the month of October. There's also the opportunity when you sign up for this to join a community of support that includes weekly emails that come up to you, a private Facebook group, invitations to gatherings and events where it's easy to participate in Sober October, and prize drawings, which will be held at the end of the month. We encourage you, if you have not already signed up, sign up and finish the month of October as Sober October. The Maine Water Assistance Program is a program that Maine Housing is administering directly through their offices in Augusta. It provides a limited time program to assist Maine residents who may have fallen behind or had difficulty paying their drinking water and wastewater bills throughout the pandemic. It provides direct support payments to water and sewer utilities on behalf of the customer. If you are challenged right now with paying bills such as your water and wastewater payment, we are encouraging you to look into this program and the income eligibility guidelines for that. You can go directly to the mainehousing.org website for that. ACAP is not administering this program. None of the CAP agencies are. It's being done directly through Maine Housing, so we are directing folks directly to mainehousing.org to get that assistance if they are interested. We are also celebrating this week and into next week our expanded preschool partnerships with our partner schools. SAD 27 in Fort Kent. We celebrated that one on the 15th of September last month at ACAP's 40 Alfalfa Avenue Early Care and Education Center in Fort Kent. But we're in Caribou this Tuesday at 2 p.m. at the ACAP Center on the Bowles Road, where we'll be celebrating with RSU 39 officials our new partnership there that provides wraparound pre-K childcare services for families for a full day. And then we're celebrating with Limestone on the 20th on Thursday at the Limestone Community School, and that new pre-K public school partnership with ACAP that's serving residents of that community right in the school. And then similarly, a program in Van Buren for 3-year-olds will be celebrating there and invite the community in on October 25th at 9 a.m. Community members are invited to come to each of these celebrations and join us and learn more about the partnership and how it's benefiting families with young children in each of these communities and school districts. We are also reminding folks that our community closet at our 771 Main Street Customer Service Center in Presque Isle does remain open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It operates on a give what you can, take what you need, just like the nearby community cupboard. We are continuing to look for volunteers to help staff the facility. It's not staffing it in terms of having to interact so much with customers as it is continuing to put new stocks of clothing out there as community members donate it to us and just help to keep and organize the clothes and hang it out there in the community closet. If you would like to help in this capacity, you can contact ACAP's Kim Garrett-Michaud at the email address there on your screen, or give her a call at 764-3721. She's at extension 246. And the Home Energy Assistance Program season is well underway here in Aroostook County. We're ahead in terms of taking applications from people throughout Aroostook County. And if you're looking for an appointment and think that you might be eligible, and we encourage folks to check it out this year, especially with the cost of fuel oil. Income qualification guidelines by month are there on your screen. And we are taking appointments and scheduling appointments in the month of November now. So we encourage you to call if you are looking for an appointment. We can get you in within the coming month, which hasn't always been the case at this point in the program. But please do give us a call. You can call the fuel line directly at 768-3053. And in our COVID corner of news and information, we continue to remind folks that the COVID-19 vaccine, including relatively new boosters, are available. If anyone 12 or older can get an updated vaccine if it's been 2 months since your last dose, to help protect against Omicron variant. Those who are ages 6 months and older are eligible to receive their COVID-19 vaccine. For more information on either of these, you can visit the maine.gov/COVID-19/vaccines website. If you are in need of help scheduling an appointment and knowing where an appointment might be nearby you, you can also call our reception team here at ACAP at 764-3721 for more information. Free at-home COVID-19 tests are being recycled and being made available again to households in Maine. You can go to covidtest.gov or accesscovidtest.org, either one of those websites, and see if your household is eligible to place another order for different sets of COVID tests. And we encourage folks to have those on hand in the event that they need them. And we're also continuing to remind our community that we continue to provide support for COVID-19 isolation and quarantine. So if you are diagnosed and are asked to quarantine within your household and have no other means to get groceries or other household supplies, give us a call here at ACAP or complete a referral form online at the website there. You can go to the Maine DHHS website and get navigated to the COVID-19 isolation and quarantine social support services. And finally, if we've not talked about something on this program and you are in need of assistance for whatever reason, you can contact us here at ACAP. We have navigators who can help you do just that, to navigate the social services system, both programs that we offer at ACAP, but also programs that our partners offer. And you can give us a call at 764-3721 and ask to speak to a navigator to be assisted in that way. And that's this week's news and information that you can use again for the week of October 17, 2022. And as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, we're discussing early care and education, and specifically childcare, not only here in Aroostook County, but across the state of Maine with our guest this week. And I'm so pleased to welcome to ACAP today, in her first appearance, Heather Marden from the Maine Association for the Education of Young Children. Heather, welcome to ACAP today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
And Amy Murchison is a program coordinator here at ACAP, and we're so happy to have you back on the program, Amy, and thank you for arranging Heather as our guest this week and to discuss a very important topic. So welcome back to you.
Thank you, Jason. Great to be back with you. And for Heather's first time on ACAP Today, we're very excited to be here.
Indeed. So Heather, we're going to talk about a very important topic today, and that's, of course, childcare. Lots of people are talking about this. An election obviously just around the corner. It's a very hot issue as folks are looking at the campaign trail. Before we get to that, if you could do some context setting for us and tell us about the Maine Association for the Education of Young Children for folks who aren't familiar with your organization and what you do.
Absolutely. I would love to share. So the Maine Association for the Education of Young Children is an affiliate of the National Association for the Education of Young Children. Our goal within the state is to promote high quality early learning for each and every child from the ages of birth through 8. We connect practice, policy, and research. We aim to advance a diverse, dynamic early childhood profession and support all those who care and work for and on behalf of young children.
Wonderful. So now, Amy, I know that there's some really innovative things that you're doing with Maine Association. What it is that ACAP does in general with Maine Association for the Education of Young Children and how you interface with the group.
Yeah, so I have to apologize, Jason. You did cut out for a second. Do you mind just repeating that?
Sure. I was actually going to sorry, I saw the screen freeze as well, but I was transitioning to Amy to have Amy talk a little bit about how ACAP on a regular basis, I know that there's some other special things that we're going to talk about in just a little bit, but how we interface and how we connect with Maine Association for the Education of Young Children.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. ACAP's work with Maine AEYC really supports the work that we're doing locally. We communicate around what barriers we're seeing here in Aroostook County, what the needs are, so that when Heather and her work at Maine AEYC is talking with legislators from across the state, Heather has that local information that we have, and she gets that from many providers across the state and can really advocate for high quality early care and education statewide.
So Heather, obviously, as I sort of queued up this interview at the beginning, we really are looking at childcare. I would say it's fair to classify it as a crisis here in the state of Maine and really across the country. And as more people are looking to return to work in a sort of a different phase of the pandemic, if you will, a lot of people are saying, gosh, one of the key impediments to being able to be fully employed for folks is the access to quality, affordable childcare. So talk about that from the perspective of the association and what's happening as it relates to that right now.
Yeah, so, childcare is, an issue that really touches everyone. Even if you don't have young children, you're probably affected by it. If you're working in a business, you're hearing the struggles of families and employees trying to get childcare so that they can get to work and earn a living for their family. So as an association, one thing we really try to keep our pulse on is what are the data and trends that are happening around early childhood education from both the family's perspectives, quality for children, and the educator workforce and business perspective as well. So something, we've done over the past 2 years, noticing that obviously the pandemic kind of opened up this vulnerability of the childcare business model. And I'll state that the U.S. Treasury actually deems childcare as a market failure. It is really hard to operate a childcare business on the thin margins which they operate on, which is what makes it expensive for parents, as well as also kind of brings that hardship of that business expense down on the workforce in the acknowledgement of low wages and lack of benefits that the early childhood workforce has. Some other national data, and certainly we know in Maine, childcare is one of the, among one of the lowest paid professions. Nationally, it's in the bottom 2% of professions, earnings. So, we know there's a workforce crisis there in just the level of pay, and, Amy's breathed this work in and out every day. It's hard work and it's work that is physical and mentally labor intensive. So burnout is easy. And, when you add stress of low wages on top of that, that makes it really difficult to recruit and retain educators. So, that's just some context of looking at the business model. So some things, we have found out through some surveys over the last couple of years. We wanted to look at, what are childcare programs experiencing? What are our families and parents experiencing? Especially after after the pandemic exposed this, great fragility of the system. So something we found out is families that gave feedback on our survey is that, about 7 months was the average wait time to be on a wait list for a childcare program. And then when you think of how that's affecting individual families, what are they doing for 7 months? Well, they're trying to work while not having care for their children, right? So it really tells kind of this interesting picture. And some of the most challenging things for family, obviously, that rose to the top was the cost of care, being able to afford sending my child. And we have seen some trends that childcare programs have had to raise tuitions to try to keep wages to stay competitive in the labor market, as well as, we know some inflationary things are going on that affect programs. Timing availability has been another issue, as well as, noting staff turnover has been hard. And location. Maine has many areas that we deem a childcare desert. And that's, usually multiple children vying for one spot in a childcare program. We also, over the last decade, have had a significant drop in our family childcare programs, which have, are a lifeline, and especially in many of our Maine rural communities for care, and often can offer that more non-traditional care too. It's our family childcare providers that will often open their home for nighttime care for parents working overnight, or, non-traditional hours, weekend care, and all of that. So, they're a vital sector as part of this early childhood system as well. So, looking at some of those data trends, as well as noticing that, over the pandemic, there was around a 10% permanent closure of childcare programs. So there's things happening in the state to try to revamp those systems. The governor and her administration dedicated significant funds to try to rebuild childcare, to combat, this momentary crisis, but we know it's going to take more public funding, more resources, to get Maine to a level where childcare is accessible and affordable, and we are paying our workforce well to recruit and retain and keep educators and keep childcare business owners in this field.
Amy, all of what Heather spoke about certainly rings true in Aroostook County. And I know you and your team have seen it. And I think there's been some, additional emphasis placed on it as a result of the pandemic. But really, this is a situation that was existing well before the pandemic that has only been exacerbated by that here in Aroostook County. Is that your assessment of how things are with childcare as it relates to Aroostook County specifically as well?
Absolutely, Jason. I think Heather summed it up so well as she was talking, and there are so many layers to that, and we see it here in Aroostook County. We have wait lists for childcares. We have areas there may not be a licensed childcare provider, and we've had home childcare providers close. And, the workforce shortage, as Heather said, finding, retaining quality early childhood educators. And I think that's another piece of the work that Heather and her team at Maine AEYC does, is that people who are caring for young children in early childhood are teachers. They are educated. Many have degrees, they have certifications, they've done, a post-secondary education to care for our young children. And that's also an important piece, is recognizing within our culture that our childcare providers are teachers, and they're teaching our youngest children at their most wonderful age to learn.
And I know that one of the many initiatives and ways that you're looking at this, Heather, is through a program called LEAP. So talk about that program, what it stands for, and the work that you're both collaboratively and with others across the state hoping to accomplish through LEAP.
Yeah, so LEAP is the Leadership in ECE, so Early Childhood Education Advocacy and Policy Program that we began 4 years ago at Maine AEYC. My executive director, Tara Williams, began that program, and I've moved in to facilitate that role. So what this program is, it came out of recognition that everyone who works and is invested in early childhood is affected by the policies and systems in which childcare operates in, and understanding how to engage in decision making, in policy making, engage with those who are the policy and decision makers, as well as understanding the systems that affect us was, a vital need in this industry and in this field. So this program was developed out of that need. We aim to educate those in the program about opportunities they can take, how to reach out to a legislator, how to invite someone to a program visit, so they can understand more about your operations and your successes and challenges. We connect them with our federal delegation, because this is a trickle down of federal policy to state policy to local policy that affects us all in the jobs that we do every day in early childhood education. So that while there's some training elements, there's also actionable items that they can participate in. And certainly Amy has participated in many over the year in her involvement. So those are the things that, we try to educate and move people from being empowered to actually using their power, because they are the experts in the experiences that they face every day. Whether you're a classroom teacher in a public school, whether you're a classroom teacher in a center, whether you're a family childcare business owner and educator, whether you're working in Head Start, there's a lot of commonality, even though we have different sectors in early childhood education. And this group brings people across sectors together so that we can find those commonalities and move forward together, to ask for policymaking decisions that are embedded in the experiences of the field.
Amy, talk about the perspective you bring to this LEAP initiative and what you're hoping the collaborative work that you're engaged in leads to.
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to participate this last year in monthly meetings, and then we've also had some opportunities to meet with Senator Collins, a representative from Representative Golden's office. We also had the opportunity to talk with the Maine Women's Lobby because, as we know, a majority of the workforce in early care and education is with females, and how that impacts women across our state. And as we know, women tend to be the primary caregiver for young children. So, the issue of childcare impacts women greatly. And so having those opportunities to interact and educate on our program here at ACAP has been just so valuable for me to experience that. So I feel confident in my role here and having that confidence when I'm out and being able to educate not just our representatives and our senators, but our local community. And I think that's also very important, Jason, is as Heather said, you may not have young children, but the lack of childcare is impacting you some way, somehow, whether it's when you go to a drive-through and it's really slow because they don't have enough workers. It could be because, people are unable to find childcare and not able to go to work that day. So it's really helped me see that bigger picture. And I think another big part of that takeaway was, we need centers like ours that we run at ACAP, childcare, Head Start, early intervention services. And we also need those private home childcare providers that can offer maybe those services we don't, or that parents want different things for their child at different times. A parent may want a more home-based type of setting when their child's young and then transition to a Head Start when they're a little bit older. And so really kind of getting that greater perspective that, there's different options out there and how we can all work together to provide this valuable service in our communities.
Heather, I think that Amy raises a very good point, because this isn't something that, to her point, is at all competitive. This is something that needs to be collaborative, because the solution needs to be multifaceted, in part because of the severity of the problem, but also in part because of what Amy discusses in terms of the need and the diversity and the reflection of the differences of the communities across the state and across the country. So have you found that there's been a successful voice that's been raised collaboratively, and whereas in potentially other industries where you'd sort of see competitors that sort of be a little bit guarded with one another, where there's been more of a collaborative spirit that we're all in this together and we have a responsibility to move the needle on this in multiple ways, that really is a very big tent way of bringing everybody together?
Yeah, I think one thing, Jason, that we really do well in Maine, and it's because of efforts of many, many groups, is our collaboration and our willingness to have open, honest discussions when we meet and get together and find those commonalities to move forward in a positive way. So we have, our association, we have the Family Childcare Association of Maine, we have the Head Start directors, the wonderful network of the community action partners. We have a coalition in Maine called Right from the Start that's aimed at supporting early childhood policy initiatives in Maine. So because we have all of these people who, come around this commonality of wanting children to have access to high quality early learning programs, wanting parents to be able to afford this, wanting programs to be accessible and successful. Well, at the same time, we want people to be set up to be in a good position to have longevity in the field. One thing you hear from childcare programs, and one of the common feedback we hear is they're giant wait lists. They don't want families, on a giant wait list. They understand what's happening to those families while they sit on their wait list. They might be giving up jobs. They might be not entering a workforce or not taking that higher education training because they are waiting for childcare. So programs, want an expansion. The thing we run into, the hard part, is the competition for the workforce. They don't want to be competing against each other and taking teachers from each other. That doesn't feel good. And there's a recognition out there that we don't want to do that to each other. We want to build this field up together. So we have plenty of highly trained and qualified teachers so that, we're having multiple people call in to have an interview, but I'm not hurting you as a program over here. And certainly that pipeline of early childhood education has always had constant turnover. So this is not just a pandemic problem. This fractured workforce has been, a problem for decades now in Maine and across the country. So I think, that is our number one strength in Maine, is our collaboration and our communication among all these people who want, stronger systems of early childhood education across Maine.
And Amy, I know that for ACAP Early Care and Education, that collaboration has also led to some great innovation. I think of some of the things that we've talked about in recent editions of ACAP Today, some of the new public school partnerships that we've added to some already really great existing ones. But there's also work, as we support other local home-based childcares through the Child and Adult Care Food Program. So maybe talk about the ways in which collaboration has led to, in some cases, innovation for our agency and to help better serve families in Aroostook County to be able to access quality, affordable childcare.
Yes, Jason. So our program has partnered with RSU 50 in Southern Aroostook, I think, since 2007. I don't quite remember the year. And I believe that program's been used as a pilot or, as an example statewide for other programs to look at partnering with local pre-Ks. And then we've been partnering with our local technical high schools in Presque Isle and at Region 2 in Holton, and have really built those up to offer some high quality education for the children that attend and for the high school students who have those classrooms as their lab. And then we've been partnering with SAD1 around offering pre-K right within our center here in Presque Isle. And as we've talked before, Jason, we've started partnering with the Caribou school system to offer pre-K right at our Caribou Center. We've partnered with Limestone to offer a pre-K partnership classroom there, partner with Van Buren to have a 3-year-old classroom, partner with Fort Kent to offer pre-K in our centers, and work consistently having open dialogues with some of our school systems to really figure out and partner and how we can best serve our communities. This is something that there's pre-K partnership applications for additional funding to support these partnerships. And this really gives families the opportunities to choose. Maybe, I think about families who have been at one of our centers when their children may have been 6 weeks old, And now they have the opportunity to receive pre-K right at the same center with the same teachers they've had through all of their early childhood. And then, work on that transition to public K, and because it works, and they need after school childcare. And so their child doesn't have to leave our center, go to pre-K, come back. They can get all those services right at our center. And that works for some families, and it supports our families who are trying to work, trying to go to school. And, as we've talked, Jason, about our whole family approach, and really support families in that economic mobility, so that they have their needs met.
Indeed. Heather, as you hear about that and as you think about the work, I know that it seems sometimes daunting, the work that needs to be done, but there's really a lot of great things happening across the state, and there seems to be a real focus and energy to move in a direction to really improve the childcare climate within the state. I'm hoping that you're feeling optimistic as we move forward, and I sort of want to make sure that we get in anything that we haven't discussed on this edition of ACAP Today from both of you, starting with you, Heather, that we want to make sure people know about or are aware about with what your organization and the collective effort is doing across the state of Maine to help advance childcare as we move forward.
Absolutely. And I always love to, end on an optimistic note, because while there's a lot of challenges, I think the positive side of the pandemic is it opened up this awareness to the value and importance of childcare. And certainly we have decades long research to show the value of children's brains development from birth to 5, the need for those healthy starts to give them a foundation from which they develop on the rest of their lives. But the pandemic really highlighted, to maybe outside sectors that are outside of this world to early childhood, how important and valuable this field is to keep, our economy afloat, to keep parents in the workforce, multiple other things of the way that childcare spider webs off and affects other industries. So from that, we've gained a lot of momentum from outside partners joining in this collaboration and to advance this work forward. And I think, another thing too, we've seen some good efforts in administrative efforts and state efforts and, federal awareness around, maybe what is needed, what is that aspirational picture. It always doesn't get there as fast as we want it, but we always say it's a marathon, not a sprint, but, we're picking up that momentum. So, we were able to receive, COVID funds within the state dedicated just for childcare to help provide some stabilization grants to make sure that we stopped programs from closing their doors permanently. And Maine did a tremendous job getting those grants out quickly and fast, and led the nation in that respect to make sure that programs had that financial means in their hands so that they could keep programs open. We also just had the biggest state budget investment in this last budget period to dedicate ongoing monthly stipends to those working in childcare programs, so that we are trying to raise their wages a little more. And we know we still have more to go, but to recognize that that was the biggest funding effort to dedicate to compensation. So we're seeing these positive steps forward and things that we can continue to build on. So, I know there's a lot of challenges in the system of childcare. We've identified it in research and data. We've identified it nationally. We've identified it by the state. But if we can keep taking these steps that we stack upon each other, then, we can get to those aspirational systems that we need and want in Maine.
And Amy Murchison, what have we not discussed that you wanted to make sure folks knew about, and what's the positive note you'd like to end us on?
Thank you, Jason. I just want to say thank you to Heather and for the opportunity to participate in Maine AEYC's program. It's taught me a lot. And, I really hope people in our community reach out and have conversations about childcare and recognize that the childcare crisis is impacting them. It may not be directly because they don't have young children in their home, but it is impacting them indirectly, and having those conversations and bringing that to the surface, as Heather said, COVID really brought that up, and continue to have that open dialogue in our communities around how we can best serve families with young children, because it's investing in our future. At the end of the day, our little ones are our future, and how can we provide the best that we can for them.
Indeed, couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Amy Murchison, Heather Marden. Appreciate you both coming on to ACAP today to talk about this very important topic that, as you have both pointed out, affects all people in our community, not just families with young children, and in a challenge that we need to all wrap our hands around. So appreciate the work that you're doing to advocate and to help make the change, but also as a practitioner, especially you and your team, Amy, for the work that you're doing to make sure that people have quality, affordable childcare education options and are doing it in unique and innovative ways. Again, my thanks to both of you and appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
And before we leave all of you on this edition of ACAP Today, we once again do our photo of the week, and we are doing retro photos all of this week. We're actually repeating one today that we did earlier this year, and there's a reason why we're doing that. And then let's first show the picture, and I'll explain why we're repeating this photo of the week. This is ACAP's rural Maine or Northern Maine Rural Health Program vehicle, a mobile service unit, if you will, that traveled to Aroostook County back in the late 1970s. This photo was taken in 1977. You can see some of the vintage cars parked by our Northern Maine Rural Health Program vehicle. The reason why we're sharing this photo again is because we're very pleased to say that we just recently received the authorization to go ahead with the congressionally directed spending funding that we received thanks to the support of Senator Susan Collins in particular for our Northern Maine or Aroostook County Mobile Services Unit, which is going to be a new iteration of this vehicle from the late 1970s that's going to allow us to provide programs and services in communities across Aroostook County on location using the vehicle. So we're bringing this throwback snapshot of the week back with you to share with you that we're very excited and that we hope by next year at this time, ACAP's Mobile Service Unit will be out there on the streets in Aroostook County providing services specifically to people in rural communities where we don't have an office location or otherwise a physical presence. So that's our throwback snapshot of the week this week, with a little bit of a vision for the future of sort of back to the future, if you will, when it comes to our service delivery and our ability to meet the local needs in local communities. And so we thank our guests again this week for joining us on this week's edition of ACAP Today. And of course, we thank all of you for being with us on this edition of ACAP Today. We'll be back next week with a brand new edition of the program. We'll see you then.